Hello everyone, welcome back to Locke's Quest. Today we're going to be taking Heather and a group of soldiers back towards Antonia, so that way we might, at least get some people back in safety. So as you can see, Heather's pretty beat. Funny thing, Heather is actually, I think she's one of the, her and Isaiah are actually one of the few characters, Owen and Keenan, who have a hurt, looking portrait on the side of their, dialogue. Locke doesn't have one to my knowledge. He only has anger, sad, normal, and happy. I guess he never got hurt throughout this entire thing, even though he was in most of the battles. Anyway, this entire... I think there'll never be a part of Locke's Quest where I don't yawn. And it's not because it's boring, but still. Okay. As far as, like, this section, it's just a giant funnel section. In all honesty, this is probably one of the easier sections of the game. I would blame you for dying here, because it's just a funnel. Like I just said, it's all you do is just constantly protect the Kingdom Force members that you have here, that you get to guard, and then just move your defenses up. Also, since they fight for themselves, any enemies that come through from the behind or in front of them, they'll kill themselves, because at least the archers can help take out enemies. So you almost don't have to worry about them. Though I think I lose a knight during this. I guess if you care about that, go ahead and be sad. Anyway, as far as the as far as what's going on here, you want to put up your rotogun turret and a splash turret. Really, you don't want to be bothering using status effect turrets like the acid trap, and you don't really have to worry about using the strap. You do have to actually use the shrapnel turret at least once or twice, but so let's see. But you don't want to be using things like the goo turret as well. Like I said earlier, I don't really I don't really like to use the goo turret. I still find it useless. I never used it past the early part of the game because at a certain point, like I said, the goo turret just ends up becoming very underwhelming. It's just sad, really. So recently I've been thinking about what my next game will be because Locke's Quest is almost reaching its end. And I had asked some people about this one game that I've been recording, and they said, well, Jawan, that's not really an underage M, is it, Jawan? Now, I was like, no. So what I ended up having to do was I had to start thinking again about what about what order of things I want to do, because I don't want to go to like another game that's been kind of overdone like Mega Man X. Like, I like the X series and I plan to do that entire series, but I don't want to like I don't want to false advertise myself. So if you have anything that you think is underrated because you just noticed that it doesn't have it, that didn't get great sales, or you felt that was a good game that just didn't get the proper like reviews or something, then tell me. There's one series in particular I know of, like 3 games that Disney made. It was one of the only good Disney franchises as far as their video game lines. But you know, that's here nor there for the moment, because that series is going to take a while to record. I have to first record the first one, which is going to be it's going to take forever, and then the second one. Then I have to make sure I have something to talk about during it. That's the one thing about commentary, is you have to really start thinking about what you're going to say, because if you have nothing to say, it's almost pointless to talk. That's why when I first started out on YouTube about 2 years ago on my old channel, Jawan, I used to not do commentary. Well, partially because I didn't have a microphone, but also I really had nothing to talk about on the games that I was playing. And when I tried on the Walkthrough Corner the first time, I still didn't have a proper mic, and then I got one. And then I tried again, still didn't go as well as I planned, and so I got rid of it. I was very harsh on myself after a certain point. And over time, I've gotten what I felt is better. I don't know, people say that I can be boring. Yeah. But other than that, I'm fine. I feel I'm doing fine. I also like that people are commenting from time to time. That's a reassuring prospect that you're not just sitting there doing nothing. So, I'm happy to be giving a good Let's Play of this game, because the only other Let's Plays I've seen are terrible camera recorder quality. Just awful. Just makes you want to kick a puppy in the nose. Not a puppy, I know, but still. What to make you kick something in the nose and punch it in the throat. And if it has any type of genitalia, you want to like just knee it right there in the groin. Not the person, the video. I mean, the video itself, like the person themselves, they're probably a fine person, but that video, you know, needs to be taught a lesson. So I'm actually re-recording these parts, this part at least, because the original part had some really terrible audio quality. I don't know what happened with Audacity when I recorded it, but it recorded my mic sounding like I was some type of robot. I didn't get it. So there's that. One thing. This is the last few days of the game, so just take all your old defenses back up to raise up your source again, and then just go ahead back and re-defend. You want to make sure you don't lose many walls during this section, just to let you know, and just because of the fact that you don't get as much source from battles as you might think. And plus you don't want to be running around. You don't want to have to deal with a lot of enemies killing the Kingdom Force, because once their forces start going down, then you're going to get weaker just in turn, because then you have to make sure that, like, if 3 of them die, there are only 6 of them, so that's half of them. And if the 3 that die are like a knight in both of the archers, for example, then the pikemen and the other knight are screwed, because the archers are the only thing that really take out enemies from a long distance. But one other thing, recording this after I've actually finished most of the game. I record most of the other content. Like I said, the Audacity recorded my voice really weird on this part, so I had to re-record it. But it's fine. I didn't feel I did that great on the first time anyway. I've actually had to do something else for this LP just to help it out. But yeah. Recently I noticed that that James Bond Superman thing got actually uploaded to Game Fails. I was happy to see that. I just wish I actually agree that I wish they did put the person's channel there when they put up a game fail. Kinda do, but oh well. That's Rooster Teeth. I want to ask, what do people think of the Nintendo DS? I've always wondered. I've heard people say they hate it, from people saying they hate it to they love it, and I've heard people say that, oh, it's just an RPG pool, like, which it kind of was, I'll admit. And then I've heard people, like, but, you know, that depends also on your, like, viewpoint of RPGs, because if you think RPGs are boring, then you're not going to like it, then you wouldn't have liked the DS anyway. But did you feel the gimmick that they made with it was alright? Did you like it? Did you think that that it was like a bad or a good thing? Because I always thought that the DS having, you know, 2 screens, I always found that useful. I find it funny as well, just a quick tangent, how I said don't really use the acid trap, and yeah, I'm using the acid traps. Wow. I really changed my strategies after I played this, didn't I? See, they're about to take that wall down. But yeah, I actually enjoyed the DS for what it had. I mean, you can see why they made RPGs a lot. Things like Etrian Odyssey, which was like a first-person game where you had to make your, you would have maps, and like the DS would, on the touchscreen, it would make your map for you as you move, so you can move around and understand where you are. Yeah, that was a good thing. I don't think Etrian Odyssey would have worked well in GBA or the god dang, what's the Sony one again? Wow, I cannot remember the PSP. That's it. Okay, there we go. I always do that. Whenever I forget something I have to say, I will not remember the blank, and then I'll remember it instantly. I have an awful memory sometimes. So yeah, that was a cluster what just happened back there. Just every enemy just came on screen and started attacking all the Kingdom Force. I couldn't do anything about that. Got stuck. Yeah, but the PSP I never really was fond of. I never owned it though, so maybe there's that too. Some people say like, oh, come on, but you didn't own it, so how can you have an opinion on it? Well, I played enough of the games on it to say that I didn't care much for it. I played things like the Ratchet and Clank game that was on it that was not that great. Size Matters, which I loved every other Ratchet game. Deadlock was kind of a back and forth for me, but literally every other Ratchet game, and yet that game was just kind of boring. Like, there was nothing in it that really mattered. Even though it says Size Matters, even though the game's called Size Matters. Pun. Anyway, the other games that I played on it were like the Jak and Daxter game. I got to play on it. That was made by, I think, Vicarious Entertainment or something like that. I think that was made by. Yeah, they, you know, of course they weren't Naughty Dog, but I thought it was alright. Yeah, and PSVR had alright games. I've heard that most of the Metal Gear games that were put on it were alright. I've never played a Metal Gear game, like, ever. Well, except for the GBA version of Metal Gear Solid, which was awful because it had the longest intro I've ever seen. Jeez. Talk about overly extended. All you saw, it was like a 5 to 10 minute intro of just dialogue. I just didn't like that. I know, two people I know were talking about it yesterday in a group chat we were having over Skype. So, I might, like, eventually play them. I might not, I probably won't let's play them, but I might just play them. I know I have one, but, you know, that's not going to be for a while. I might, because the one problem with me playing them is that Metal Gear Solid 4 was only released on PS3. I don't own a PS3, nor am I over 18, so I can't actually buy it myself. And my parents know what the rating M for mature is, and why would they buy me a PS3 at this late in the console generation cycle? So, 4, I'm sure will be re-released at some point by Konami or Hideo Kojima, so it doesn't really matter at that point. I was surprised that for 3 they never released it on Windows, because 1 and 2 were released on Windows. I don't know, they're more famous for being on PS2, but they released on Windows, which I bet added some type of mod. Sonic Generations got mods, and Sega has not made a single extra level for that of DLC on the PC version, other than giving people the what was the pre-order exclusive to PS3 and 360 owners if they bought it, which was on like pinball. I think it was like Casino Night Zone or something like that, which is a pinball minigame. Pretty bland. That's something I like about the PC. I actually like that it has different you know, it can get mods. Like, you know, everyone always says like, oh well, you can get, you know, these Fallout New Vegas mods and these Skyrim mods. Those are the most famous ones. But even smaller games got mods, such as or not mods, but just like patches that weren't even in like were never released that people have made themselves, such as one game I planned LP, Advent Rising, that had an unofficial patch that fixed things like slowdown bugs, gave the game a 4:3 ratio, and did things like fixed lip syncing on dialogue, because that game had some horrible dialogue lip syncing. Also, and I think it also gave it just a bit of a graphical reboot, but just didn't do it all the way, because Advent Rising had some really crappy looking cutscenes. I have to admit, to this day, it still looks pretty awful. I mean, on the PC, it looks pretty bad. You'll notice, like, when I LP it, that some of the cutscenes look great. Like, they're fully, like, rendered 3D cutscenes or whatever. And then the other ones look like these really weird, granulated, like, not even legitimate, how could you even release it like this cutscenes? Which Advent Rising was made by Majesco, and it was actually one of the few games by Majesco I can stand anymore. But the it was released at a time, I think, when Glyphix Games, who was the main developer on it, was about to go bankrupt, so they had to like release it really quickly. Which is sad, I have to admit. Don't know why I was using the rotor skirt there. I was a single flying enemy. And why am I taking so long to wrench? Oh, I'm trying to beat out the clock. There we go. But yeah, Glyphix Games, I think, went bankrupt right after Advent Rising was released. Which is sad to see game companies go bankrupt like that, because the game originally was supposed to be a trilogy of games. It was written by like a guy, and I'm not going to waste all my trivia on saying it now. But yeah, it was... There was a lot of time and effort put into it, like to get the voice acting good, and the story was made well. There were supposed to be books related to it and all that, but didn't pander out, didn't get the sales. Like I said, those granulated cutscenes just probably screwed it up. That's probably what gave it its low scores. Or, it didn't get low scores in the aggregate review market, it just didn't get good sales. No one really sold that game. I don't know why it also almost sent Majesco into bankruptcy. Which, if someone's played some of the Majesco games that came after Advent Rising, they might have been a bit happier. Advent Rising was probably one of the last games that Majesco even... God damn it, I keep putting my... all my trivia is going out there. Anyway, Advent Rising was probably... I'm just going to finish this one last statement. Advent Rising was probably the last game, and I think it actually was the last game Majesco took a chance on, after which they started making more games that were easier to make and a lot safer for them to make, such as, I believe Majesco is the ones that made Cooking Mama. But after that, after like Advent Rising's debacle, where it virtually didn't sell, and you know, stuff just didn't work out for them. They eventually just started just doing easier games. So that's, yeah. Well, Lock's Quest didn't it didn't like do that great in the box office either. Like Bust a Move is what Majesco released, just to let you know. Or Brain Boosting. Yeah, they did release Cooking Mama. I was right. All right then. I didn't know they did Dawn of Heroes. Anyway, like with Lock's Quest, I don't know exactly if they had a single I know that THQ developed it, and THQ actually hasn't from what I've understood in the market, THQ hasn't actually been doing that great over the past few years. It's kind of been going up and down and all around. There's Sonic reference, there's your obscure Sonic reference, but it's been, wow, that guy he was screwed. But it's THQ has just not been doing that great over time. It's weird because they make good games, but they just don't make it in the sales for some reason. Or when they do, they just put too much money into the game itself. And then when they do get a lot of sales, they don't get enough. I don't know. THQ, I mean, they released like, THQ are the ones who made this, Saints Row 3, they published the creation of Scribblenauts, and the Drawn to Life series, and things like that, so... THQ is an alright developer, I mean, or alright publisher and developer, so I don't know why whenever I look up, like, how they're doing from different gaming sites and media, they always keep saying that THQ is not doing well. I'm not a business owner, and nor do I understand a lot of the, the facets of the network scenario or everything like that, so who knows, it might just be because of the fact that the games just aren't selling as much as they need to. One other thing I forgot to mention about this little section. This is the last section of the game where they're going to introduce enemies, other than boss fights. So this is the last day of this, and then we have 9 more days of the game left, where we're going to take on the last 3 bosses of the game. That's right, there's one extra boss at the end. The game developers had one last trick up their sleeve to get you. At a certain point, you don't have to take up your walls anymore. You don't have to if you don't want to. It's better though if you do, because sometimes they're not going to be used anyway. Like, see, this section is really irritating because you can't actually see past a certain point. And that's what happens, and that's what happens during this. You get stuck at certain points, and so your walls just end up looking kind of weird because they're not on any type of rounded surface. They're just there. You know what's a really good game developer? Sega. And I don't mean that just for the Sonic series. I mean that in general. That Sega is a good developer. Sega, if not a developer, Sega is a really good publisher. Because Sega, ever since the Dreamcast failed, and they had to go third party, they've been developing good games over time, just on different platforms, and they can, everyone can say that, oh, everyone will relate Sega to Sonic, obviously, but, they made things like Jet Set Radio, and, like, hell yeah! Wrath of the Dead Rabbits! And the like. Like, those are some games development. They've made things like Yakuza 5, like Yakuza, the entire Yakuza series, not just Yakuza 5, I'm thinking about that, but Phantasy Star Online, and Phantasy Star Online 2, Total War series have all been made by Sega. So you see, Sega makes legitimate games. They publish legitimate games. They just they get stuck with that dark age of Sonic in 2006, between 2006 and like 2009, where like nothing good relates to Sonic the Hedgehog except for the Rush games, where it's even released. So, well, actually then, 2005 to 2009. My apologies, because Shadow the Hedgehog was absolute garbage. So, there's that. But, yeah, Sega does some good stuff. I like Sega. And if you don't pay attention to if you don't ever pay attention to the publishers, sometimes the games that you might like your favorite games, probably might just have been developed or published by Sega, and you would never have known. I think Sega also made that one game where I think it was like something. It was that one game that was like that had like the dialogue options that were so quick, and it was awful because I think it was made by like Obsidian, like Bethesda or something, or Obsidian. And Sega published it. Someone would probably know what it is if they paid attention to the developer, but that's basically it for this part of Lock's Quest, everyone. I'll see you all in part 21 for what I pre-recorded earlier. Peace.